With her own series at last, Penelope Keith was the queen of all she surveyed.
She's statuesque, she's beautiful, she's sexy, and she looks as though she comes from the top drawer. She talks as though she comes from the top drawer, and she lent it a kind of authority that very few other actresses could have done.
Squat! Prepare to dump tables! Over there!
You will dump them nowhere. You will put them over there.
Mom!
Quietly.
What Penny has is that wonderful, natural, imperious class thing.
Audrey's class naturally told when it came to scoring first blood over her future sparring partner.
This is Mr. De Vere.
Oh, how do you do?
My condolences, Mrs. Forbes Hamilton.
How kind. It was a great shock, but life must go on. Do help yourself to a drink.
It's Mr. De Vere of Cavendish Foods.
Oh, the caterers. In that case, help everyone else to a drink.
He was about 6'2" with a moustache, and he had more hair than I do now.
I'd seen Peter operate in the West End. I'd seen him do some very good things. I liked he had a great style, and he had presence.
One of Peter Bowles' first television roles was as a policeman in Out of the Unknown. From there, he graduated to several parts in The Avengers and was able to prove his early advisors wrong.
They took me around all the big casting people. They were very nice to me. They always gave me a sherry and a dry biscuit. I don't think they do that now.
Ah.
They all said, because of your colouring, you should go away and learn Greek or Arabic or something.
Mr. Steed. Henry? Thank you.
Because you'll never play an Englishman.
Well, what do you make of us? A bit archaic, eh?
A variety of villains followed, from The Prisoner to The Persuaders, until Peter got the chance to work in a house full of comedy greats.
But you just don't like him. I don't know why. Well, for one thing, he calls me Ducky. That's why. If he calls me Ducky once more, I shall have him.
Hello, Ducky.
When I came on and said my first line, the place went wild, and they couldn't continue, which I was sorry about. They had to stop the recording.
It was my agent's fault. He kept me on the phone for hours, some tatty review. They want me to take my clothes off again. Full frontal's the lot.
Well, you wouldn't catch me taking my clothes off, I'll tell you.
You wait until you're asked, cheeky.
Holding his own in Rising Damp earned Peter his comedy spurs, but he could have won them on a different show.
Well, originally I was going to cast Peter Bowles in The Good Life as Jerry Leadbetter opposite Penelope. One of the problems that Penelope poses is she's quite a tall woman and needs a robust and tall man to play credibly opposite her. But Peter Bowles was doing a play at the Crucible Theatre and didn't want to do The Good Life.
I decided to do this play, a new play by Alan Ayckbourn. And when I arrived at rehearsals, there was Dickie Briers, who I was at RADA with, known since he was a young man. And he said, "Why aren't you doing The Good Life?" Oh, I said, "Do you know about it?" He said, "Yes, I do know about it. I'm doing it." I said, "Are you? But you're doing this play." And he said, "Yes, but they record it on Sundays." I said, "I didn't know that. Nobody told me." He said, "Oh, God, I think it's been cast now." And it had.
If Peter Bowles had taken the part of Penelope Keith's husband Jerry in The Good Life, then he could never have played De Vere in the will they, won't they storyline of To the Manor Born. Dashing rich foreigners seldom come from Surbiton, even in sitcom.
Bye tomorrow.
He was a Czechoslovakian immigrant, started as an East End barrow boy, done very well in this country, made a lot of money, ended up owning a supermarket chain. And at the same time, he'd learnt to speak posh and passed himself off as a totally acceptable Englishman.
So he has new money burning a hole in his well-tailored pocket, and widowed Audrey has old money, meaning no money.
Sell Grantley? You're mad.
The creditors are insisting on it.
Have they no sense of history? We've been here through wars, plagues, floods, famine and Labour governments.
Despite her reluctance, she's forced to sell her precious house at auction.
Sold to you, sir, if you'll just come up to the rostrum, sir.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You mean I don't live here anymore?
And guess who just happens to buy it?
With a bit of imagination, one could really make something of this place. Excuse me.
It was very clear from the beginning, in my mind, that one way or another, the possibility of a relationship between these two people should always be there.
Now, if you'll excuse me.
Do you have to go?
I have a great deal to do. But I won't say goodbye.
Just au revoir.
Golly, what a man.
Yes, isn't he?
That is as far as I was prepared to go at that stage. Just plant the possibility that a relationship might develop between these two people.
Do you think he might be your Mr. Right?
I don't know about Mr. Right, but he could very well be Mr. Convenient.
There was a good turnout to bid Audrey Forbes Hamilton farewell and see her move all of 200 yards to the gatehouse, while Richard de Vere dons the tweeds as the new Master of Grantley. Helping Audrey settle into the lodge and keep an eye on the dreamboat up the drive was school chum Marjorie, played by Angela Thorne.
You don't mean you can see right into the manor?
Yes, of course. Why do you think I moved here?
Audrey, I think that's dreadful. Can I have a look?
She provided an insight into the way that Audrey was planning things and was a useful plot device as well. Having said that, she was much more than that, in that she played the character brilliantly.
Angela Thorne had also spent some time at the Avengers Academy, but more significantly, she had appeared in The Good Life as an acquaintance of Margot's, a genuine toff. And she brought a touch of class to Emmerdale Farm as Charlotte Verney.
They don't use front doors on farms.
Now, how do you know?
Well, there were farms on Daddy's estate. Front doors were only used for feast days and funerals.
I'm a cow.
Yes, Angela was clearly a gal who knew just what was what about our country ways.
Oh, come on, Aud, noblesse oblige.
Oh, very well, Marjorie.
Marjorie was based on an aunt of mine, and Angela tells me that, in fact, she based it on an aunt of hers, so they must have been the same aunt.
Like Penelope, Peter and Angela, the rector, played by Gerald Sim, cut his TV teeth on the Avengers.
There are two occasions in a man's life when he shouldn't speculate. When he can afford it and when he can't.
Thanks for the advice.
It's not mine, Mark Twain's.
I enjoyed playing you very much.
Oh, thank you for seeing to the clock, Ned.
There was a certain sense of pleasure in the rector when anything went wrong for Audrey. And I don't know why, they weren't exactly antagonistic, but I think he had a secret smile when the lady of the manor was taken down a peg of it when something went wrong.
What's happened?
There's always one on the morning the clocks go forward.
He had that character he developed for the part of being oily and yet sanctimonious at the same time. He was just fantastic.
The clocks go forward, did you say?
Well, ours did, thanks to Ned.
The fantastic English countryside around the manor played no small part in the show's success.
It was a small little community, and it was really sort of bounded by the manor and around it. And I think people, therefore, could identify the various people in the various places. It was a village shop, and they knew what that was like. They knew where the church was and the rector, and it was all in their own minds anyway. It was just one compact little village.
But in reality, things weren't quite as they seemed.
The lodge is supposed to be in view of the house, but the lodge was 2 miles away. We made it work by having a movable pillar, which was stuck in the left of frame when we were outside the lodge. And then the pillar was put in the truck, taken down to the house, and then the impression was given. You never ever saw the two buildings in the same shop, but you thought you did.
The house, which became home to the series, was at Cricket St Thomas in Dorset, then a wildlife safari park, and an inspirational and familiar setting for Peter Spence. It belonged to his father-in-law, and he got married there, which was nice.
I lived on an adjoining farm for about 3 years, where I was able to sort of view the activities in a local community that kind of centres on a big house, and where all the material came from.